So
when I was in jail and I would be talking to like people with substance abuse problems because, you know, they need someone to talk to too. But they're also like, man, they got some good stories. But anyway, they'd be like, yo, you ever done coke? I'd be like, yeah, of course I've done coke. And then their second question would be like, did you ever bang it? And I'm like, what does that mean, bang it? They're like, like inject it. And I'm like, no, never.
No.
They're like, oh, then you've never done coke.
Fucking cocaine hipsters? Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are like, no, it's way better when it goes right into your bloodstream.
Jesus.
Speaking of sports washing in Manchester City and all, they won the Champions League final this past weekend. And you guys ever heard of Jack Grealish?
No, who is this?
Oh, buddy.
An American comparison or a North American comparison for Jack Grealish. I don't think there is one. There's not.
J.R. Smith, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Go on.
But like, it's like he goes even harder than J.R. does. Like,
there's something so deeply English about him.
Yeah, it's just like every stereotype of like an English person abroad, he just embodies like even times about 10. He's just like the most like bro dude who plays in the league, like especially now in the English league where like everybody's a true professional and they treat their body right and they stay in the house and that. Jack is just like a party boy to no end. Like,
is he just sort of like the British guy in the season 2 of White Lotus?
I didn't watch season 2 of White Lotus. So I couldn't tell you.
That's the vibe I'm getting from scrolling Google for sure.
But after winning the Champions League final, he went on a 3 or 4 day bender. That let me give you guys the highlights real quick. So after the game, he was very, very happy. This was his second season at City. His first season, he felt like he didn't contribute too much, but yeah, so he pretty much like led a bunch of the celebrations in the locker room. There's a very funny video from his Instagram story where like the kit man or whatever, the guy who's in charge of the jerseys, like slides across the floor into the wall. And you can hear Jack saying like, watch my fucking Gucci bag, man. And they left the stadium. Yeah, they left the stadium 3 hours later, and he's blasting Fleetwood Mac's. What Fleetwood Mac song was it?
Everywhere?
Everywhere, yeah. It was Everywhere from a Bluetooth speaker, just like smashing a Heineken on the way to the bus. They get back to the hotel where there's a party. He's still drinking. He gets on the stage and starts rapping.
What?
Yeah. He wakes up the next day.
What did he rap before you go on?
He wakes up the next day still in his uniform. And then was then seen with his head poking out of a window on the roof of the team bus, which we might have to use that photo for the thumbnail for this episode because it's incredible.
Okay. I mean,
they're on their way back to Manchester. He gets on the intercom of the plane, still drinking the entire time. He has not been to sleep, it looks like. And he just starts like doing chants over the intercom on the plane. Fans who saw him getting off the plane back in Manchester, one of them tweeted, "Grealish doesn't have a clue what planet he's on." And so then like later on that day, like this is like a day before the trophy parade where, they were going to send the team bus with like all the stuff they won through the city and fans get to like line up and see it. He and a bunch of other teammates go to Ibiza on a private jet, get back in time for the trophy parade, and he is still going at it. Like I saw a video today of like him seeing a pretty girl in the crowd at the trophy parade, and he pointed at her. He's like, "Oh yeah, you right there." And so like he's just like going in, and yeah, it's like we don't get players like this anymore.
He is.
We don't get at the top level, at least.
He is the last of a dying breed, I guess. And he also seems to be like a really lovely bloke. There's videos of him with England, but like one of the thing he was most famous for before, apart from being like excellent at football, was, have you seen the video of him at England training camp where they're doing like a piece of practice content, and they pull out that they're asking all the England players to identify where on a map of England they were born, and they put it to him and he goes, "Oh fucking hell, is that England?" Like he didn't just not know where he grew up. He didn't know what a map of England looked like. He's just like, he's a beautiful doofus. He's a lovely, lovely doofus boy with like lovely doofus boy hair as well. He's got curtains. He looks like he's
like a fucking platonic ideal of a himbo.
Yeah.
Handsome dude, just like a human golden retriever. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Like one reporter asked him, like, yeah, your manager says you have an encyclopedic knowledge of football. And he goes, "Oh, what?" And she goes, "Encyclopedic knowledge?" He's like, "I don't know what that means."
Bearing in mind,
so this guy is the Derek Zoolander.
yeah, pretty much. Just like an excellent left winger who also you can name all the books he's ever read on like your thumb.
Yeah.
So,
but I love him so much, even though he plays for a team I hate. Like he's been like in a team full of like dudes who are robots and just have like all this like just kind of stuff behind him, like this dark cloud above him. He's been like the one sense of joy. Seeing him do well has been like the one sense of joy in watching them do this, you know?
But not a joyful team. Yeah. It's true.
You got like Erling Haaland, who looks like he was built in a lab.
Yeah.
Just like this large Danish boy who cannot stop scoring goals. You got Rodri, who I fucking hate with all my life. You got Bernardo Silva, who I hate even more.
But again, at the parade, he goes like, "There's one boy," like Grealish goes like, "There's one boy on this team I fucking love," and he looks homeless, and then brings Bernardo Silva up with him in front of 100,000 people. He's just completely. It's beautiful, and the tabloids have been following it. That's another reason it's such a great throwback, is because the tabloids have been sort of voraciously following him with this. And he just wasn't turning around and going like that. Just like, "Yeah, it's great. Like, I'm kissing my girlfriend. I'm having a great time." It's beautiful. I wish him nothing.
There's one photo of him like on the street in like a fucking traffic cop's like vest. And it's like, first of all, how the fuck did he get this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like pouring champagne down his throat and stuff. And like, yeah, he's just a lovely dude.
He really is.
Oh, I've never heard anyone describe it as a soup.
I actually Googled before this. I was like, let me make sure ceviche is not a soup before I start talking about it's not a soup. And like, there are different recipes calling it ceviche soup. So I think it's more like, if anything, is closest to a stew.
A ceviche? It's like a tartare, if anything.
Oh, it depends on how much citrus juice you put in that shit.
That's true, because that's what you have to cook it with, right? The citrus juice.
Yeah.
Man, someone made the most bomb-ass ceviche in jail, bro, because they grew the herbs right in their garden. So it was elite.
Ooh.
What's the coolest thing that you stole from Vice?
The coolest thing I stole from Vice? I didn't really steal that much.
Yeah, maybe.
There was a time... Yeah, okay, you say yours.
When I left the New York office to go to LA, I was like saying bye to the IT guys because my computer broke so much that I was tight with them. And I was like, "Can you guys like give me something cool to take?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And he gave me like a USB to HDMI converter cable, which I wish I still had because those things are like pretty useful.
Was it like Vice branded?
No, it was like generic, like Amazon.
That's pretty cool. We didn't even get an IT guy until we moved into the new office. And then that guy like had all the Coke at the company Christmas party. It was weird because everybody thought he was a square. And then I feel like he overcompensated by being like, hey, you guys want some Coke? Which we did. But there was a time when we had a big partnership with Budweiser and there was like a wall of beer in the back room. And I lived really close to the office, and the security code to get into the office was 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would walk in on Friday nights and walk out with like 2 cases of beer in each hand, and go back to my apartment. I did that all summer, and I don't think they noticed. And if they did, they didn't say anything.
That's kind of one of the reasons I think they stopped having beer for free in the New York office too.
Because I kept taking it.
Yeah, you were coming down on the bus, and just swiping our whole stash. Because I remember sometimes they would have like those cans of wine.
Cans of wine, you say?
That it's like half a bottle in one can or whatever.
Hello.
Yeah,
because we definitely had them for one like company party or whatever. Like they were barbecuing on the roof deck, and I was like, okay, cool. And people were putting those cans down, not realizing how much is in one. I think people were drinking like they were a glass of wine instead of like half a bottle.
Trey, at what point did they cut off the Old Blue last?
Oh man, that shit smelled crazy.
We found out why it smelled funny.
I forget exactly why. I just know it smelled funny.
We learned this recently at Drew's book release party. Like, remember we talked to the bartender?
Yeah. Shouts out John.
It was at the Bushwick Country Club, and he was like, you worked at Vice? Wait a minute. And he goes and, like, comes back with, like, a can, like one of the last remaining cans of Old Blue Last. And he said something about how the way that it was prepared or the way that it was stored made it go rancid. And it was like rancid before it even reached consumers.
I believe that.
It
or
was
like maybe low-key rancid, like slightly funky.
I only drank because it was free. I remember them trying to charge me like $6 for one in a bar one time. I was like, absolutely not.
Oh my God, Slava just...
Wait, no. You got to take a photo of it. This is the thumbnail for the next episode.
So speaking of things that we're very happy that we stole from Vice, I'm holding up a pair of Stan Smith Adidas that are Vice branded, and they are all white with a pink sole. And I actually kind of like even missed this detail until somebody came over and pointed it out. Yeah, Old Blue Last. It was what, rancid when you got it?
So apparently the marketing campaign that they decided on was contingent upon building buzz and then doing the rollout, which they didn't realize meant that a bunch of beer would be sitting in like a warehouse in Brooklyn, I think during the summer, which caused it to skunk before it hit like store shelves, bar shelves, whatever, which led to Trey saying once that Old Blue Last is the only beer that tastes different every time you drink it. And also Trey saying that it's the only beer that tastes better warm.
That's because of all the egg they put in there. Yeah.
It was like, imagine if someone was like, what if we like left a fucking 3 entree combo from Panda Express out in the sun and then made a beer that tastes worse than that, you know?
But man, what a great metaphor for Vice.
Yeah,
honestly, that's not fair to Panda Express, honestly, man. Like, that pepper chicken fucking goes. Shout out there.
But like for Vice to start off and do a beer that was based on Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is like a really basic beer, but also like a very Vice thing to be like, oh, you know that thing that's popular? Why don't we just do that, but like change it a little bit? Except theirs failed, which is crazy.
Or it was like Pabst was popular in like 2004 to 7, sort of when Vice was really on the come up. And then So in like 2014, they were like, what if we just made a beer? Do you want to talk on record about like kind of the experience of trying to like make a money making media entity, or is that like not something you're interested in?
No, that's cool. It's important. I mean, like it's like, you know, it might actually help me like figure my own shit out when I talk about it. So like, honestly, the main thing is that I feel like is really tough right now is like we are like in a place where we have like a pretty big following, but it's kind of dispersed amongst like mediums in a way. So like we have like a YouTube. YouTube's actually kind of not popping, but like we have a TikTok that people will sometimes like notice me or notice people from my like Nobels from. We have like the blog itself, like the Twitter account. Like sometimes like people see that like first. So like it's a question of like how to like do we pursue like what's like, I'm not even sure what our like thing is for like the most people right now, like because like for a lot of kids like who fuck with us, it's like not even the articles, it's just like
the
we'll
vibe.
just be posted up we'll just be like recording things at events and like we'll be like under Elliot Wilson, we'll like be posting like some random video from like some show in like the middle of nowhere in like a rave or something, and it'll like go viral or something on some like TV, I don't know. But
and it's also, I would bet it's also like hard to, if you know you've got like a base that is making you go viral, but it's like teenagers, it's hard to be like, hey, why don't you give us $5 a month or whatever, when they're like,
yeah, it's not the same like Substack thing, right? It's like we could start doing, and I've been like, I have a little Patreon that's like basically just a tip jar. Like I don't really like, I'm trying to like figure out a better incentive thing, but like I'm not sure like what our appetite is for like paywalled like Nobel's articles, like if there even is one yet. So like that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So yeah.
And then
I think like the shows, yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it seems like one of the reasons that people fuck with y'all is that like you are finding like new interesting things, which is sort of like opposed to the model of like, let's get a bunch of traffic and then sell ads against that traffic.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about becoming an agency? Just being like, we're an agency now. That's how a lot of people make money.
What is that like? What do you do as an agency?
You're an agency. Like,
You just agent.
you like consult and like you tell, like, basically, like, I don't know, like fucking Skoal Chewing Tobacco like pays you money to tell them what's cool so that they can figure out how to make like Skoal appealing to Zoomers, like taking the fucking like dip cup challenge or whatever. I don't know what the dip cup challenge is yet, but you know what I mean? That's like basically,
yeah.
You could charge somebody 20 grand for just saying dip cup challenge.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Remember there was a time where it was just like, oh, I work in media, my next step is TV writing because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And now it's not.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
But now your next step is ice cream so good. Yum, yum.
yes. I mean, I think also that like journalists in the web era should get residuals. Like, even if it's not a ton of money, like, you know, the amount of articles we've all written, like that shit adds up. And like, you know, even if, yeah, even if like, you know, someone in their 30s who's written hundreds of articles is only getting like 500 to $1,000 a month or something, that's still like money that like, you know, we are generating, our content is generating revenue for these media companies long after we've been paid like our one-time fee for it.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up too. You go on a bike.
They effectively paid a retainer to sit there and write stuff.
Mm-hmm.
like no matter how well it did or didn't do, like it's just like, yeah, man, that's what. Yeah, we're gonna make sure you can go to the doctor if you want. You got to pay a little extra to go to the dentist or the eye doctor, but optometrist is, as they are called. But yeah,
I mean, no, if I remember both Bernie presidential runs well, and he was very concerned with eyeglasses. He would say the word eyeglasses and then point at his own eyeglasses. It was a big sticking point for him. Part of why we needed Medicare for all was so that everyone could get eyeglasses.
yeah. If you can't see, how can you see the lies?
Exactly. Yeah, and once you get that third eye open, that's like a 50% increase in the cost of your glasses. Slava, what are your thoughts on this? You were about to say something.
Yeah, see, Slava's got free healthcare. He don't know about these struggles. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was going to say, like, yeah, I hate when I try to find something that I wrote and then I click open and then it goes, FYI, this article is 5 years old. But then also they've added a thing that lets you listen to that article with like the AI voiceover that they've added. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
Should listen to young Dolph.
The gritty street narratives of young Thugga. Yeah, exactly. But no, I was also going to say, like,
ride in that pussy like in Star This is how a song starts. Like, yeah.
It's just weird because, like, when we signed up to do this, we were just like, okay, let's post something stupid online and then post it on Twitter and have something to tweet about. But now it's like, okay, well, AI has actually been learning off of the things that are online, which includes the stupid thing that you wrote for College Humor or Thought Catalog back in 2013.
Dude, let me tell you, if I had known how this was going to end up, man, I probably would have just stayed in like marketing for finance and financial places and all. I would have been married with a kid right now, making probably like $250,000 at least a year. Goddamn, would not know anything about leftism, so I would not be a hypocrite if I went back to I would have just stayed like dumb as shit out here thinking Obama was the best president we ever had and my life would be so much more simple. Like, yeah.
Oh, like this team, and they're just sort of moving them around like that. The thinking seemingly being that you need a top four kind of sounds right. That's a good, it's a good number, kind of what we have in England, kind of
like somewhat competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it competitive. And so then eventually what you have is like a team full of glittering superstars at the top four clubs. And then like some of the other clubs each have like a pretty good player, like a handful of pretty good players from abroad, and then a handful, like a smattering of good Saudi players. And look, the Saudi players are no joke. Like they beat Argentina, they beat the world champions at the World Cup that the world champions won. So like they're not a piss take. But all of that's kind of by the by because it's the ethical. I suppose it's the ethical consideration. I guess this is kind of where Drew comes in because it is like the parallel between what's just happened with Live Golf and the PGA Tour and what's happening in what's seemingly about to happen in professional football, soccer is.
Slava, you know about the concept of sport washing?
Sport washing? Is that where you kind of launder your money by buying sports teams that fail on purpose?
You launder your
reputation. It's not so much your money as it is your reputation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, isn't that just the way that things have always worked with that? Is that is that just a new word for a thing that's always been around?
Well,
it is.
It's like this is on a much different scale than it's ever been done. It's like this isn't just like an American owner going and buying like a team in a foreign country or something. And this is like people with direct government ties going into places. And it's kind of like sort of like what Abramovich did at Chelsea, which like kind of started this whole era of this. But he was like, tangentially, not even tangentially, like directly connected to Putin, but it wasn't Putin owning the club. And you have, damn, somebody's fucking up outside my house. It's like these state-owned entities or state-affiliated entities going in and using these teams and investing a bunch of money in them to make them the best teams. Like sometimes legally, a lot of times they're, dodging rules in certain ways. Like Man City, who got bought out about a decade ago, they have 115 counts of like financial improprieties against them right now.
But Saudi soccer Arabia as a whole is like super corrupt, right?
Oh, absolutely. But like, I can't remember it ever being like this in your face.
It's
Where it's like people are just like, nah, nah, boo, boo, we're going to do it and you can't stop us because we have more money than God.
yeah. I think that corruption is it's not as it is insidious, but I think what Trey said is absolutely right. But like Ray Rato said this recently that like having an unlimited amount of money and really wanting to get something done is kind of undefeated in the history of all things, not just sports. Like if you have they said that the investment fund is going to put forward $750 billion towards investing in sports. If you have $750 billion to spend and you want to get something done, you fucking get it done. Like that's always been the case. And that corruption could just as easily apply to basketball and football, which it will soon, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just have a question. Do you think that they'll just turn around and buy the MLS? Like, what stops them from doing that? Do you think at some point morals kick in, or like some kind of sense of patriotism kicks in?
Well, I mean, look, but I think
part of what's going on right now is Saudi is trying to prepare a bid for the 2030 World Cup.
Yeah.
And so to make Saudi Arabia more attractive and like as a host and stuff, they need like a proper league and stuff. And they need, so that's why there's a few reasons why Ronaldo ended up there back in, what was it, January?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mainly because he also didn't have a club in Europe to go to after that shit he pulled with Piers Morgan. And then he's just also, it's not a good idea for him to come to the US at all.
Right.
But
wait, why is that? What do you mean by these things?
You probably get super sued if you say anything, Joe. You shouldn't.
Yeah. So allegedly, as it was reported in a German newspaper, is there are certain claims against Cristiano Ronaldo, which look to be pretty substantial, mainly because he admitted to it in the police report. And there was a payment outside of court. And recently, people have been calling for those charges to be brought back up. Yeah. And if he touches, that's like part of the reason like the teams he played for haven't really been doing like US preseason tours and shit. And
It's the Ronaldo. I mean, they just backed a truckload of money up to him and dumped on him, and he went over there, and they still finished second in the league, which is amazing. Yeah.
Also, like back in December, he went on an interview with Piers Morgan to talk about how shit Manchester United was like as he was still playing for them.
Right.
Okay.
So no other club in Europe wanted him because it's like, nah, we're not going to put up with that shit. MLS could have been a big money move, but nah. So like he pretty much only had Saudi Arabia to go to.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I think it comes down to. There is this, the sports washing element is very real. They are trying to launder their reputation. The Saudi government is also, I think, trying to like invest in something that isn't just like gas. Like trying to like diversify its portfolio essentially, and this is a pretty good way of doing it. Like if you're going to pump billions of dollars into anything like soccer, golf, anything like that, the growth could be exponential. I mean, golf's a little bit of a trickier one, and you get fucking rubes who are going to defend you. So if you bring up Jamal Khashoggi, for example, in criticism of the Saudi government and the investment fund, people will just fans of Newcastle United, who are now owned by effectively the Saudi government, will say will fight back because they think you're attacking their club and their traditions and their father who took them to games. And so you buy more and more people in the same way that in golf you've now got you've got a direct line to a particular demographic, mostly aging white guys, mostly typically more right leaning, who are going to tune in and watch the Masters and shit like that, or watch like your average NBA event.
Well, it's funny about the kind of thing you were saying about, people defending the Saudi government because about the Khashoggi thing, because they it's like their club or whatever. That completely did not work with Live Golf. when they were like first getting started up, they had this guy named Greg Norman, who is an Australian retired golfer. He was like what Tiger Woods was to the 90s and early 2000s, he was to golf in like the 80s. Like he was the first superstar golfer who would like fly around on a jet and own a boat. And so the Saudis and like everybody in pro golf like thinks he's an asshole. But he's really famous and he's a name. And so the Saudis, the Public Investment Fund, recruits him to be the commissioner of Live Golf. And like the first interview he does, probably not literally the first, but like one of the first interviews he does, someone's like, so why would you work with, a nation that kills journalists? And he doesn't miss a fucking beat. He just goes, well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And then just keeps it moving.
And this is what happens with Bryson DeChambeau the other day on I think CNN, where they're quizzing him about it. And like I can say without putting the word allegedly in front of it that Bryson DeChambeau is a fucking idiot. Like he's just a fucking idiot, and that's okay.
Yes.
He's not paid to be anything other than a fucking idiot. He's paid to be a guy who like out muscles golf courses by just like having big biceps. Like he's a dumb guy, and that more than other dumb guys is typically used for evil. But like saying nobody's perfect about Mohammed bin Salman is genuinely objectively funny. Like it's really genuine, and not even the funniest thing he said in that interview where he was like
Jeffrey Dahmer, like nobody's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, hey, we all make mistakes. But then also saying like when he was asked about 9/11, because obviously the like Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, so he courted the 9/11 families last year and saying like, well, you've never had to apologize for being part of the PGA Tour, and now look at these families. And then of course when the sums get high enough, he goes like, oh yeah, we'll settle, fuck those guys. And Bryson DeChambeau basically gets on CNN and he's like, look guys, 9/11 was a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah, for real. And it's like
he says like we have to move on.
Like guys, and he doesn't even say like, hey, as far to the best of my knowledge, the Saudi government had no involvement in the 9/11 attacks. He's just like, yeah, man, look,
over it.
Shit. Like, and it was a long time ago. So let's all just grow up and put our big boy hats on and like let's just forget about 9/11. And that
I love that.
Right.
I love that Bryson DeChambeau literally used the "why you got to bring up old shit" defense to talk about 9/11.
Right.
That's bold. That's so weird.
But it's bold it's bold in a way that makes total sense when you've just spent the last year and a half in his case taking shit for Live Golf, and then it turns out that everybody who claimed they had any ethics or morals about it, and not your Rory McIlroys or your Tiger Woodses who maybe did, and like maybe like we don't know, probably did have like deep ethical concerns about this. I'm sure they had their own agendas too, deep ethical concerns. But like the people who mattered, the people who were signing the papers, they were fucking lying the whole time. It didn't matter. You've just seen morals just like completely fall apart. That nobody around you has any, and you can go on TV and be like, forget about 9/11, man. It doesn't really matter. And there's not going to be pushback on that because you're just surrounded by completely amoral crooks. And this is, or immoral even. And this is where it like, the Live Golf thing is instructive, not just in the way that, yeah, you're going to end up with maybe fucking Riyad Mahrez or N'Golo Kante or whoever, whichever soccer player they try and bring into, or however many dozens they bring into the Saudi League and pay up, and however many players will have to toe the party line when the World Cup inevitably gets given to Saudi Arabia for 2030, and everybody says like, hey, I don't really know about this, I'm not a politician, and stuff like that, while they, they take away people's pride flags like they did in Qatar and stuff like that. What for all of that stuff, there's the real threat that they will take, the same thing will happen in football as happened in golf. And people aren't talking about that enough because I think that people assume, even the people within football assume that they're immortal, and they assume that they're the ones in control. From the invention of the Premier League in 1992 onwards, the people at the top of this have always assumed that they're in control. And so in England, they assume it's an English game, and in Spain, they assume it's a Spanish game, even as they farm out certain games to Saudi Arabia. What they haven't realized is that in the same way as the PGA Tour, the governance of football, of modern football, is so corrupt. Is one way of, yes, it is deeply, like FIFA is a deeply corrupt organization, allegedly. But for all of that, they don't realize. Okay, so with the Champions League final, fans are complaining of being treated like cattle, right? Liverpool fans the year before talk about like fearing that another Hillsborough disaster might happen, that people might die in a crush because the French police are treating them again like cattle. They're forcing them into tiny spaces. The death of the European Super League now means that more money is going to be funneled to the biggest clubs. Smaller clubs are getting inched out, pushed out. Yes, Manchester City are ignoring financial fair play regulations, but so are fucking Everton. Like every club's ignoring it. The fans are being treated like shit. Not just physically, but like more and more money. It costs £1,000 to get a season ticket at Fulham. You know how shit we are? I've got a shirt in that drawer that says we were third division runners up, and they embroidered that into a jersey because they were proud of it. Like, we're charging for a fucking season ticket. Fans are being treated like shit. Players.
Wait, Alex, not to interrupt, but how much did a Fulham season ticket cost when you were growing up?
I mean, I don't know how much the season ticket cost because I let my mum buy it for me when I was a kid. But I remember getting into games for £1 on a weeknight. Like you go to a Fulham game for £1 in the seats with where my family sat. It would have been a couple of £100 probably, which is still, in Germany they wouldn't allow it to be anything more than that. So as you do more, and then the players are also being screwed increasingly just to meet the demands, to meet financial demands and TV demands. Players are having to play more and more games in a shorter amount of time. I was listening to something today. Kylian Mbappe has played 40% more games than Thierry Henry had played at the same age. Jude Bellingham has played about 35% more than Wayne Rooney had played at the same age. Like players are just being forced, and it's resulting in injuries, especially in the women's game, but in the men's game too. Players are burning out. Their careers are ending sooner. They're getting pissed off. The managers are pissed off with it. Eventually, somebody with a shitload of money, an oil-rich nation state, will come in and just provide an alternative. They'll do exactly what people did with the PGA Tour. They'll say, look, you don't like the PGA Tour because they don't give you enough of a cut of their money. It's not fun. The crowds aren't really raucous in the way they could be. You don't earn enough, so we can give you more money and we'll give you more break.
Well, the biggest thing is they weren't allowed to wear shorts.
Right. Let people wear shorts, So until they start listening to that stuff, they are, in the same way that, without meaning to blow this conversation too far open, but like in the same way that the Democratic Party or democratic institutions in America are open to this kind of stuff. Like if you piss people off for long enough and you treat them like shit for long enough and you get arrogant and hubristic for long enough, somebody will come in with a populist angle and they will just say, yeah, man, look, we're going to start. European Super League was just botched because they were stupid about it. But if you're the Saudi Arabian investment fund with $750 billion to spend, you take a chunk of that and you say, cool, look, the big teams just play each other all the time. That's what fans want. And we'll give you like a guaranteed week off between games. We'll pay the players more. And hell, maybe even the fans can get in for less money because God knows we're bankrolling it enough. And then all of a sudden, maybe you don't try and do what they did before. Maybe you don't take Arsenal and Liverpool and Spurs and Barcelona and Real Madrid. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe you take 40 clubs, 50 clubs from around Europe, and you just start it that way. In the same way that you don't necessarily get Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy, but you get Bryson DeChambeau and you get Brooks Koepka, and you build. And then the next thing you know, you merge. And you have that merger, which is obviously a takeover.
Yes, that is the funniest thing is that the PGA Tour is spinning this as a win because they get more board seats initially, but the Public Investment Fund gets their head guy is going to be the head of the board, and they have an option to invest like more and more and more, and the more they invest, the more board seats they get. And so, soon enough, even Rory McIlroy, the number one 9/11 acknowledger in the world, is going to be saying, like, why you got to bring up old shit?
Because and he's got to get his paycheck signed, right? And there's not really an option. There's not like a rival breakaway league now he can even go to. He can't go to one that's owned by somebody else. So that...
And he can't play in Europe or Asia or, South America or Canada because he is just too good.
Right.
And so he's like stuck. And if you watch this press conference he did prior to the RBC Open, he just looked like like you couldn't see anything below his like torso, and it looked like his chair was made out of like needles. And he was just like, well, I feel super hypocritical. I guess this is good because like the lawsuits that PGA Tour and Live have against each other will be dropped. And that's like a big fucking headache. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the thing.
So who's the biggest winner and the biggest loser in all this?
Saudi Arabia is the biggest winners, and everybody else is kind of the biggest losers.
Yes. And like,
I mean, Saudi Arabia and the teams they're buying and leagues they're buying are the biggest winners.
I would say the biggest winner is Bryson DeChambeau. Actually, no, the biggest winner is Brooks Koepka because he signed with Live Golf when he was like hurt or like rehabbing from an injury or something, and he was playing like shit. And he sort of used a year of Live Golf to convalesce and get better. And now he's just kicking ass. And yeah, I mean, I think that you're right, Alex. Like, I think the big Live Golf proposition was basically like saying like, listen, the only tournaments that people actually watch are the majors, and you guys on the PGA Tour will still be allowed to play in the majors. So, why don't you accept a guaranteed $200 million to wear shorts while listening to Avicii?
Yeah, and join a team called the Snakes or something.
Yes.
And like wear team branding. The ideas which they've all completely scrapped now because they realize like nobody wants to listen to Avicii on the golf course, and it's dumb, and they've just scrapped the team concept and all that kind of shit. But yeah, I mean, the sad thing is that this is the powerlessness that fans feel, and obviously, golf isn't as fan oriented as football. The heritage is there with the sport, of course, for players, but for individuals like relating to a team, perhaps being brought up there or even growing up miles away and still like caring about a team and investing in it like emotionally. The sad thing is the inevitability of this, and the fact that this is all going to be that pieces of this are going to be sold off, and eventually it's all going to just be everything is going to become Live Golf. And the only way to avoid that may have already gone. We may have already gone past the point where we could have. But if I could be a football fan in any country, I'd be a football fan in Germany, because when ticket prices go above 22 euros, they take to the streets like the French when they're told that their pensions are drying up. Like, they refuse to travel to games. They write very clever and nasty things about the owners of clubs who they accuse of being like grifters and like corrupt individuals because they're charging like $25 for away tickets, and they don't include public transport in the price of the ticket. Like, the Germans will absolutely riot if the foundation of their football community is threatened in even the smallest way. And that's why Bayern Munich weren't interested in the Super League a couple of years ago. They just went like, no, we don't need this. We're good. We're happy here. They don't attract the world's greatest players. They don't attract, like, Erling Haaland was there for a couple of years and then he goes to Man City. Does it matter to a fucking Dortmund fan that one of the world's greatest strikers isn't playing there? No, because they still get to go to the club every week. They still get to watch it. They can afford it. You can take your kids. They won't have this shit sold out from under them. And if they do, like, people's lives will be threatened because they won't just let the league be sold off. And in England and Spain, places like that, the English did for once, like English football fans did rise up 2 years ago against the Super League.
I mean, I can't believe I had to say like good job to Man U fans, man.
Right. But like, but Liverpool fans, I mean, I had to do it with Chelsea fans, but it's so miserable to realize that they were only going to do it at once. And that the moment that tiny little bit of like fans taking to the streets to protest against what they thought was like anti-competitive spirit and the selling out of the game from underneath them completely fucking evaporates when Manchester United are like, sure, but with Sheikh Jassim in charge of us, we could finally do what we want and spend money, as if you haven't spent £500 million over the last 5 years on just complete fucking dross anyway. Like, we all need to be okay with being a bit shit, basically. and if football fans could just get off Twitter for 10 minutes and just deal with that, then this threat of the game being sold out from under them or being bought out from under them in a hostile takeover would, I think, if not evaporate, at least not seem completely immortal.
Okay, I have an
but
idea.
Alex, who did 9/11?
Well, look, I think the point is that it was a long time ago, and and who's to say? I mean, they're just trying to be a better ally.
That's true. Yeah, this is actually really a labor issue, and they are being allies to workers.
Yeah,
loosening dress codes, guaranteeing paychecks. They're really trying to get golfers health insurance.
That's the main thing.
Move them off W-9, get them W-2'd.
Yep.
Fucking guaranteed 3% pay raise every year. Or
Yep. Got to keep up with inflation, man.
Yeah,
you got it. Yeah.
And pro golfers, they're like Uber drivers, man. They're gig workers right now, and PGA won't even play in California because of the laws. So
some of these
that's
guys,
not true.
Some of these guys don't know
where
where
my fellow freelancers.
some of these guys don't know where their next 300 grand is coming from, and it
exactly
breaks my heart.
Yeah, and these sponsor paychecks, they're drying up. They're getting replaced with unlimited free equipment, and a new PXG driver only goes for like $1,100 on eBay, and if you've only got 100 of them, that's a lot of. You're losing a cut of that because you're paying for shipping.
Exactly. You do the math. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Workers unite, baby.
Yep.
We're talking around the thing because I'm willing to do both.
Do you mean that we hold you to account?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we may as well get right into it, man. Yeah.
Just because I feel like
personally we do it, I guess, is introduce ourselves because nobody has said anybody's name on this yet.
True. I'm Slava P. I am actually, you know what I think would actually be really interesting if we talk about when we started working for Vice and when we got fired, because that is how we all know each other. So I am Slava P. I started working for Vice in 2013, and I got fired in February 2016 when I was 25 years old.
I am Drew Millard. I started working for Vice in October 2012, and I quit Vice in order to not get fired in February 2016 when I was 25 or 26. Yeah, I can't remember. I turned 34 tomorrow. I feel weird.
Well, happy early birthday, first and foremost.
Thank you. This is the greatest gift I will be getting, is to reunite with you guys performatively on a video call.
I'm Trey Smith. Freelancing since 2014. Hired full-time 2016. Fired November 2022. Or laid off.
Hey, man.
I guess there's a difference.
What a fucking run, bro. Yeah. What a run.
Yeah,
you were like, there's one person I know who is still there, but you lasted the longest, and you also did the most things there.
Yeah, like only things I didn't do over there were probably like working in the IT department in the C-suite, but yeah.
How much beer do you think you sold? Like, how much beer do you think you were personally responsible for selling?
Significant amount.
Did you do any SpawnCon?
Yeah. Well, speak of the devil, Coachella was this weekend, and last year I went to go hawk some Ray-Bans with the cameras in them.
Oh, the Facebook ones?
Yeah.
What were they like? Can you recommend them?
Whoa. No free sponsorships on Nersey. All right. They got to pay for that shit.
You know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Don't give your opinion on anything that you could buy in stores.
All I'm going to say is they're definitely sunglasses and they definitely take photos.
Okay. That does like raise the possibility that this is like technology sourced from like DARPA or Skunkworks or whatever, or MI6 from James Bond.
Man, remember Google Glass? Like, I really wish that took off more.
Oh, look,
because it does the same shit. What's up?
The fucking sand scanners with the yeah, I remember that shit.
Yeah, that shit was tight.
Every time I saw someone with them when I was like out, I would always ask to take a picture with them. And people did not appreciate it because I think they kind of in their souls knew that it was bad. And like, that was sort of confirmation of that fact.
You know what, like, is a big indicator of the future in as far as like guys who have been in jail since like 9/11, and then like a guard walks by and he has an Apple Watch. That to them is like the scariest, newest technology, because they're like, it's a fucking phone, which they already don't understand, but it's on your wrist. So, you know, it helps to keep things in that context. Cameras and glasses, yeah, cool, but pretty mediocre compared to a fucking phone on your wrist.
I can understand being completely terrified of that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I've never done hard time, but like working in music and stuff, like the first time I had like heard hyperpop. It was like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. Dirk had a song, or he had a verse on like a Drake song, and he revealed something about himself. Where?
Even though you say don't, tweet it free agent, I was me. I coach you, I'ma never give a pass like Kobe in a 4-5 shoot. Save me, maybe let's go. J&B, really I go. Smirk Taker, really my clothes. All red, Riri at the mall. On your page, you FNFT. I'm glad that you fuck nigga free. I'm worse than Kevin Gates, I'm me. And you know I'm down to drink pee.
What?
Gates, I'm me. And you know I'm down to drink pee.
Okay. All right. Well,
okay. Well, hang on a second.
First off, I want to say that Nersey is not a podcast that does kink shaming. However,
oh no, we're not shaming at all. This is about a celebration of kink right now. Like, like as someone who sat down and, you know, speaking of Kevin Gates, sat down and heard some of the wildest shit in my life a few years ago interviewing Kevin Gates. It's nice to see other people coming out and support and be like, nah, man, I like this shit too. Like, have you ever, I'm not going to go in that deep into it, but it's nice to hear rappers say shit that they wouldn't have said like a decade ago out of fear of, you know, being shamed.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Wasn't there, or I feel like there was a time when my YouTube homepage algorithm just kept serving me video after video of you, Trey, talking to Kevin Gates. Like, how many times have you made a YouTube video with that guy?
Once.
Okay, well, they kept giving it a different headline or something.
Yeah, so the full story behind that was it was a Friday during the summer. Kevin Gates was supposed to show up around like noon for the interview, and I was like, okay. So he'll be here at noon, which really means he'll be here around like 12:30, 12:45. So I'll pop an edible by then, do this interview, and by the time I'm out the interview, edible will have kicked in, and I go enjoy my summer Friday. Kevin Gates showed up around 2.
I was about to say, as someone who has arranged interviews in an office with Kevin Gates before, he did not show up on time.
Yeah, we didn't get started till about 2:30, and I'm in the throes of this shit. And if anybody wants to go look up this interview, you can. It's a noisy interview from about 2019. You can probably also just scroll through Instagram for enough of it. But you prefer it when it's raining outside, when it's like real dry heat, or like humidity, like right in the middle?
Oh my God. Can I be explicit in nature?
Say what? Yeah.
If it's humid, I want to just get that coconut oil, the virgin coconut oil, like the liquid kind, the 100%, and put it in a spray bottle. And I want to go outside in my backyard, and I want to put some latex gloves on, you heard me? And I want a big booty to just bend over outside, and I want to spray that with that bottle while I punch that dick in from the back. I'm sorry, that's just what I like to do. I like to fuck outside.
Yeah, I knew he was quite the interviewee, but I did not expect him to answer some of my. I didn't even like line up questions for him to say some of this shit, but he started like things involving black gloves and coconut oil and clearings in the woods and talking about how he's like an elephant because his trunk is in the front too. And yeah, I could have been like completely not high and I wouldn't have known how to respond to some of this shit. But yeah.
How high were you? How many milligrams was the edible?
I took about 15 milligrams, so it wasn't crazy, but it was just like,
That's
you know, I wasn't.
For Kevin Gates interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Gates has a thought-stopping effect on people. Like, he says things that short-circuit your mind. Like, I once interviewed him at a mall. He like took me shopping for an interview I did with him. And at one point, he just starts talking about how much he loves Twilight, which I was prepared for because he has rapped about like Twilight. He has an entire song about Edward and Bella, War with God. And he's definitely rapped about Nicholas Sparks before. And I was like, oh, you're from Louisiana. Do you also like True Blood? And he was like, no, I was born under a full moon. I'm a werewolf.
I see it.
Yeah. And all you can really do is be like, oh, okay. Tell me more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we were having this conversation as he was trying on red bottoms.
Sick.
Yeah.
Like the spiky ones?
I don't know. I just remember we were in the Louboutin store talking about werewolves and moons and stuff. And I think he like said that I was born under a full moon like a couple times throughout the day.
Was it you were?
He was saying this.
He was saying that you were born under a full moon.
No, he was saying that he was born under a full moon.
Oh, obviously. Yeah. Do you think he definitely knows his birth chart off by heart?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like a big zodiac guy. I'm kind of like a zodiac guy.
And like the crazy thing about Kevin Gates is like he'll say all this wild stuff and then just pop up with the wisest thing you've ever heard in your life.
Yep.
Yeah. Because like after I did the interview, I stuck around. I was like, I just got to hear him talk some more because they were doing the People's Verse with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one comment where he like somebody asked him to give advice to like his nephew who's still in the streets and like needs to get out. And Kevin Gates, like he gave this whole thing about his life. He's like, and then I realized if nothing changes, nothing changes. And my high ass is sitting there like, oh shit. I still think about that phrase like to this day. Just if nothing changes, nothing changes.
It was like
when he just told that story about how he rubbed his hands together and charged a woman's car battery, and he was like, "Say nothing of this."
I believe that. I genuinely believe that happened.
I mean, why would he lie about that?
Exactly.
It's a weird thing to lie about. It feels like easily like disproven.
What is this?
And then he also say like, "Yo, I swear on my child."
Yep, that's exactly why I believe him. when Kevin Gates said that he started the car battery with his bare hands.
And he swore on his child about this.
Yeah, he said like he says stuff like that a lot because like I think during my interview with him, he was like, "Yo, may God strike me down right now if I'm lying." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm still talking to you, so yeah."
Do you still think that's a good idea? Listen to the kids.
I don't know what listen to the kids is.
Is that a motto? Whose motto is
Kanye
that?
used to say it all the time. I feel like Complex in like 2013 to 15 was built around the
kids,
motto,
bro.
listen to the kids. Virgil used to say it. Fucking, I'm sure Drake has even said it.
I mean, you still listen to the kids. It's just like the kids are having a rough time right now.
Just listen to like the kids who make good music, not like those kids. Those aren't even kids. How old is Cardi? I feel like Cardi's like older
What
than-
kid should we listen to?
He's 38.
I love that trend a few years ago on Twitter. People just like saying that Rich the Kid was like 42. Like just random rappers. Like Nav is 48. Or like
That was when I was thinking like, yeah, Nav has an AARP card, and yeah,
Nav was around for the first Cool Herc party. You know? He gave Cool Herc the green light. Such a stupid trend. I don't know where that came from, but anyways.
So what's
saying
was the question?
certain people are older than they actually are will always be funny. Yeah.
who's a kid we should listen to then?
Oh,
Well, in Drew's case, Yeet.
you should listen to Yeet just for like I feel cultural awareness. Like
All right.
the way I would listen to like I don't know, I can't think of an opposite example.
Fish.
You ever listen to Bat?
Fish. I almost went to a Fish concert this week. Actually, someone is like trying to make me go to this Fish concert.
You should go to a Fish show. They're like fun. Like
No, I almost went, but then I got King Cruel tickets, so I'm gonna go to that instead. And
Yeah,
Fish
that's
tickets were
fine.
$100
From Mario?
That was crazy. I was like, I can't.
Oh,
No. King Cruel
yeah, from
tomorrow.
from Donkey Kong.
and England.
Oh! I see what you're doing. Gotcha. No,
Wait,
Yeah,
actually,
dude.
King Cruel's voice coming out of King Cruel's face remains one of the funniest things in the world to me.
yes.
Crazy. I mean, that's why I still like want to see him. I think it's just like I feel like I haven't really like been that passionate about his music in a while, but I just like want to see that man. Like I want to see like that voice emanate from that redhead's like mouth.
Are you going to be sad?
Craziness.
Are you going to be sad if it turns out he has some sort of like box that he runs his voice through to make it sound like that?
Oh, he's not fibbing. He's definitely not fibbing.
Okay.
Like, I've seen videos and stuff.
What does the Vice office in Williamsburg lend itself to?
The Farmer's Dog.
So I was talking with a friend earlier, and it'd be really funny if it became like a Target or a TJ Maxx. It's just like a very nice outdoor cafe or some shit.
I would love if it actually reverted back to being 285 Kent, like the venue.
Oh, it just becomes like a squatter spot.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want it to be
That would
a CBGB's, but like not the original CBGB's, the ones that are in airports now.
Yeah, maybe they could turn it into a Vice store that just sold like Spencer's Gifts style shit.
Yeah, that'd be tight. I'd buy some stuff. You know, it's. I have a weekly call with my friend who's in jail. He's been in jail since 9/11, and he asked me to do something with the chat. Like, yeah, he saw 9/11 happen on the jail TV.
Holy shit!
Goddamn.
And yeah, he. The crazy thing is, like, there's a chance he didn't do it, but there's no sense in getting into it now. But he was asking me to get ChatGPT to write something about snuff bottles for him.
What is
which is
snuff
like
bottles?
They're the things that people in Asia back in the 1800s would do opium out of. So they're kind of like little things. This guy makes money while he's in jail by bidding on auction houses like Soho or Sotheby's.
What?
So he'll get their catalog sent to him. He'll download it on a floppy disk because that's the only technology you can get. And then he will look through it. And because he knows what the trends are, because they move so slowly, he's able to like flip things from one auction market to another. So snuff bottles was a thing that he was really into. And he asked me to use ChatGPT to write him something about snuff bottles. And his mind was blown. Like he understands the potential of it immediately.
So you have a friend who is an antiquarian who has been incarcerated since at least mid 2000. Who is like,
and he think Fraser Crane, but he's been in jail the whole time.
I want to ask what he did so badly, but I really don't want to know.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. He killed an antique dealer.
What? Oh my God.
Here's the thing. Allegedly.
Is this one of those lies you used to tell it that he really, like when you told us they call
Look it up. I looked it up.
Okay.
I got a phone in jail and looked it up. And here's the craziest thing. He was convicted for murder without a body. The body was found a few months later. And the only reason they went so hard is because the antique dealer, his brother was a cop.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, bro. But there's no footage of this guy dragging the body out. There's like, their biggest tie to proof was like, there's blood in the back of the rental car, but it's like, it's a rental car. There's blood in the back of every rental car. Yeah, exactly. That's not like enough to put a guy away. And he's maintained his innocence the whole time.
Oh my God. And he's just been like, he's been grinding and hustling the entire time, just building his empire.
And not only that, he's a sick baker. He makes like these eclairs that were awesome. So every Sunday I would go over to his range and I got a subscription to the New Yorker. Because you can get a subscription to 2 magazines. So I got the New Yorker and the Economist. Every time I would finish with the New Yorker, I'd give it to him. And we would then discuss it with tea every Sunday and like some kind of baked good.
Canadian jail is just like... Man. Trey, I'm going to let you finish that because you were shaking your head too.
Man, dudes rock. I don't know if y'all saw the news. I just saw it, but like, shout out to everybody not everybody over at Motherboard, but a good contingent of Motherboard starting their own company.
404 Media.
Yeah, 404 Media, man. Y'all go subscribe to that. Oh. All 3 people who listen to this podcast. Yeah. Apparently hundreds of people in Sweden.
We honestly should have gotten this exact same write-up from the New York Times. After Vice's downfall, top journalists start their own music-adjacent podcasts. This is bullshit. They're not going to run the same story twice. We lost our fucking edge.
I don't ever want to be like mentioned in the New York Times, man.
Wait, hold on a second. My mom's calling. Hey, Mom, can I call you back? I'm recording my podcast right now. I'm not sure, but I saw your text and...
Can you imagine giving birth to a child and them saying those words to you one day? Yo, okay. Leah, Leslie's in the game. Yeah, she might. Yeah.
All right. Love you, Mom. Bye.
One day my son might be a podcast bro. A podcast dude.
That's how he's going to work through the trauma of what you said earlier on this episode.
Qualify that correctly.
I forgot to take my other earbud out, and I heard you making fun of me, Trey, as I'm talking to my mom, and I'm like, I was like trying not to like laugh.
I'm not sorry.
It's okay. What are like the most like, American jail style experiences that you had?
Okay, so the perfect example. Have you ever seen the show 60 Days In?
No.
It's on A&E, which you get in jail, and it's about an American jail in America where they've put some people who are like former police officers or just normal civilians, and they put them in jail to see if they could make it for 60 days.
What? So everybody
and
the dude in jail competing for money?
No. There's no money involved. This is like, the purpose of this is that so they could identify points where they can improve the facilities, because you get out and then you rat to the warden and you're like, boom, this is what I was able to do. There was actually one guy who came in and he started running things. And
what?
Yeah, bro, it's a good show. But check this out. This show takes place in like an American style prison. Now, provincially, so kind of like our state facilities are built after American style prisons. So when you're in provincial jail in Canada, you are more or less in the same type of jail that you would be in America. You have the same fucking cells, orange jumpsuit, octagonal tables with those uncomfortable benches, pretty much like a 1-to-1 clone. But I was only in that facility for like 17 days, and then I went right to federal because my charge is a federal charge. But to go back to it, that show being really big in jail in Canada at the federal level made people believe that they were running a similar show in Canada. And they started accusing people of being on 60 Days In.
Oh my God.
In Canadian prison because of a show they saw on A&E.
So this was just like
that's set in like Louisiana. What?
This was like a psyop to keep you all from like organizing and stuff.
No, that's the craziest thing. There's like full prison unions and shit. They're actually pretty well organized. But that's like the thing is like you get paid in jail, but part of it goes towards the union. And like the union pays for cable. That's why you have such a good cable package. The union fought for that shit.
I love like the idea of turning a prison into like Salem during the witch trials and shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, he's a witch. He's a witch. Like, yeah.
You know how you keep that from happening is something called the paperwork party.
Okay.
And there's actually a Babyface Ray song called Paperwork Party. It has Jack Harlow on it, but just like fight through it. The idea being like you get like foolscap paperwork with your charges on it. And you're supposed to carry that on you. And like, if anyone asks like why you're there, you can always show it to them. Because if you're like a pedophile or a sex offender, there's shit on there that you don't want people to see. So that was like really the biggest one. But to go back to your question of what's the most American jail experience, it's people thinking that they're in American jail to the tune of like there being an A&E show filmed there. Because that was happening like season 4 of 60 Days In. People start to understand what's going on, right?
Oh,
prisoners
wow.
are like, no, we get A&E in here too, eh? Like we see the show, but that makes sense. That paranoia makes sense in the States where that show is being filmed. It doesn't make sense in Canada.